Organizational leadership is a mindset. And that's the critical piece here. It's a mindset of everybody that's in the building. Are you directly responsible for culture or for organizational leadership? Absolutely. Are you the only one that's going to be able to get the organization to be where you want it to be in terms of culture and a shared vision? No. It's a mindset. When you walk into the building, is everybody in that school having great conversation about kids and how they're going to help them to improve? And I know, I'm not looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, and I know that is in the ideal world and in the ideal school. But the highest performing schools have most of their people with an invested part of and an invested quality in terms of changing the organizational culture. They take it on as their own personal responsibility. One of the things that Ray shared yesterday, which guides the first two elements of organizational leadership, culture to support greater relevance for all students and a shared vision, is something that we call the learning criteria to support 21st century learners. Ray shared it as the visual, and I'll just talk you through it real quickly, because if you want more information on the learning criteria, we're going to send it to Jennifer. She's going to put it on the district website. You can pull it from there. But the training that you're going to get throughout the course of the year, when we talk about organizational leadership, first thing you're going to learn about is the learning criteria. So I'm giving you a little bit of a jump start. The learning criteria defines our beliefs about student achievement. So at the heart of this system is student achievement, which we believe is driven by the learning criteria. And the learning criteria asks you as instructional leaders working with your school to define learning in 4 dimensions: foundation learning, stretch learning, learner engagement, and personal skill development. Foundation learning are all of the required grades, data collected as a result of AYP and NCLB. It's how they performed on their TAKS, it's how they performed on their SATs, it's how they performed on the formative and summative assessment systems that we're using as a district. Everybody, all students in your school has a foundation data piece next to their name. Would you agree with that? All students can be measured in foundation learning? In a lot of cases, and in a lot of systems, it's the only measure that they can produce. The learning criteria helps systems to understand that state testing and NCLB requirements is the absolute floor and not the ceiling. Because we go as far as to say, okay, foundation learning is great, but how are you stretching all kids? How are you putting kids in a situation where they can learn in highly rigorous, highly relevant environments? How are you allowing them to accelerate in math and in literacy? How are you allowing them entry into AP level courses or college preparatory courses? At the elementary level, are you providing students with an opportunity to learn a second language, to learn computer skills in your elementary schools? How many of you have systems that promote mastery of the Microsoft applications by grade 5? At their disposal, how are you marking and measuring personal skill development? So the learning criteria, this is just a preview. The learning criteria will be a big piece of organizational leadership when you have more in-depth information and professional development around that component. The second segment, of course, is instructional leadership. And what is the key takeaway about instructional leadership? Organizational is a mindset. It's the entire system. It's the entire building. What about instructional leadership? What's a subtitle that we can put under instructional leadership? Anybody want to take a shot? We talked a little bit about it yesterday. A variety of people – are involved in leading instruction. And it was everybody, and indirectly it is everybody from the response. I would agree with that. But for the purpose of this system, instructional leadership are those that are directly responsible to promote effective instruction in terms of working with teachers. So those people who have been anointed by the district or by the school to have a direct role in improving instruction. Teaching, which is the most critical of all the segments that relates directly to student achievement, is about those that directly impact the classroom. So when you're looking at instructional leadership are those positions in your system that are keeping their eye every day on instruction, but are not in the classrooms delivering direct instruction to kids. That's the role of the teacher, all right? And if you go now down from the outside in, all three of those segments have to be popping on all cylinders to drive student achievement. And your role as the instructional leader is to clearly provide the parameters, the definition, and the clarity on what that quality instruction needs to look like. Because we require our teachers to be in the classroom. We have our texts. Here are our grade level texts we have to teach. Here are our curriculum packets that we're sharing with our teachers. They need to teach this. So teachers have to define what kids need to know and what they need to be able to do. As instructional leaders, we have to work very closely with teachers to be able to say, here's what you need to know and here's what we need to be able to do. And not in a sense that we're the authority on what has to happen, but you have to provide that direction. And if you don't provide that direction, organizational leadership flies out the window, because you have to have that structure in place. You have to have that vision of where you want to go before you can drive instruction. And so making the connection, even with the brief description I gave you on the learning criteria, you have to define what you believe about all the kids in your building. And then once you define that, you have to work at it every day. And there's a great slogan that we're developing as an organization, and it reads, whether you're a school in need of improvement or a good to great, you really have to focus on what matters most. And what are those things that keep you up at night about instruction in your building? I'm sure that many of you have those sleepless nights where it's like, how do I get this to happen? How do I have this conversation with this teacher? How do I have this conversation with my principal? How do I have this conversation with the I coach or the department person that I'm working with about getting better? And how do we go one step further and really implement this literacy program? So those things that keep you up at night are those things that really matter. And as a team of instructional leaders, you need to really latch on to a couple of those great things. And we always share Brockton High School or Caprock High School from Amarillo, Texas. Have any of you heard of Brockton High School before? If you show of hands, have you heard of Brockton High School? If you haven't, that's no problem. How about Caprock High School, which is in Amarillo, Texas? Very good. Those are two of our poster schools that have really narrowed the focus and have done significant growth with a very challenging population. And if it can be done in a very challenging demographic population, it can be done anywhere. The two takeaways from both of those schools is that they went after something relentlessly. Brockton High School, give you a quick scenario on Brockton High School. 4,300 students. It's a city outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Sue Sakowitz is the principal. She's still there. 4,300 kids in the building. They speak over 40 different languages. They are 80% poverty, 80% free and reduced. Their MCAS scores, which is their state test, are ranked among the top scores in the state of Massachusetts. They compete with Cambridge, which is where Harvard is, and oftentimes outpace them on their yearly results. How did they do it? They did it because they focused on literacy. Everyone in that school, all the staff in the high school, were going to teach reading and writing. And they developed reading and writing rubrics that they painstakingly eventually got their entire staff to embrace. And it wasn't something that happened like, wow, let's do this, this is great. Everybody ran and said, this is what we're doing. They had fight after fight after fight with a resistant staff that they eventually won over. And now, it's just their way of life. 10 years, they've been going at it for 10 years, and they're still not satisfied, but they've had incredible growth. Caprock High School, same thing in Amarillo, same challenging demographics. They were graduating 33% of their kids from 9th grade to 10th grade, which was causing a huge backlog in everything that they were trying to do. So Becky Harrison, who was the principal at the time, said, forget about this. We have to really focus on 9th grade and put a response to intervention system in place at 9th grade that's going to get more kids to graduate in 10th grade. And Caprock High School has done great things since. Becky's no longer there. She retired a few years ago. So.